This week's guest is Maryland field hockey coach Missy Meharg. Missy, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Let's talk some hockey.
Yeah, so let's just kind of recap the season so far for you guys. You're 7-4 right now, coming off a weekend where you had a tough loss in overtime to Ohio State, but then bounced back with a win at Michigan State. Just take us through those games and the season you guys have had so far.
Wow, let's see. Well, I can't say that we typically sit at 7-4, at 11 games in, but we're excited. I mean, we're a team in progress. We play 30 to 35 minutes with six freshmen on the field. We've got an incredible goalkeeper, Klobosco, as well as Josie Holloman at the center back. So, we're doing everything we can defensively, and we're playing outstanding. I look at Sasho's team and him having four or five maybe ties. And I go back to the days when field hockey did ties. I kind of wish maybe we could be in that space right now until we work out what's going on in the front field. And that's the most challenging piece, isn't it? It's the most amount of pressure. It's the least amount of time on the ball, the least amount of space. So we're working at it. As I said, we've got all freshmen and sophomores that are eager. But it takes some time to develop that final piece, which is goal scoring.
Yeah, I think if you look at the season so far for you guys, one of the big stories so far has been you can't win against a top 10 team yet. You've dropped all three bouts so far this season against a top 10 team. You have three more chances later this year, but what would you say are the reasons for those struggles against the more elite opponents so far?
Yeah, I think it's inexperience. I mean, I'm just straight up. I mean, that second weekend to be playing Duke and at that time even BC, we just didn't have our feet wet. We weren't ready. We weren't connecting. We were young, actually just not mentally or spiritually fit for the environment yet. We've learned a lot, and I have a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in certainly these young women. But they need minutes together. They need passes together. They need quarters together. So I always say every 15-minute quarter that these young women have to play together, we're going to be better and better so that the next time we face a top 10 team, we'll come out with a win.
When you talk to coaches about scheduling, there's often two sides of the story, at least for out of conference. Obviously, you can't control the Big Ten schedule, but out of conference, you could schedule very easy and kind of rack up wins and kind of boost your resume that way, or do what you do and schedule very difficult out of conference opponents. Why do you settle on that side where you want to play some of the best teams in the country out of conference?
Hey, look, fellas, years ago, I've been in this business a long time. I had an athletic director that just said to me, Missy, it comes down to recruiting talent and scheduling. And you have to be willing to play the best as much as you possibly can to end up being the best at the end. And I've always followed that philosophy. It's a little painful right now. Look, when we went out of the ACC to the Big Ten, I needed to create a tournament that would guarantee Northwestern and us an opportunity to play against two ACC schools, which is the second weekend of the season. Typically, before that time, I always scheduled so I would go through September and pretty comfortably know I'd be undefeated. Got to be straight up. And then you would take that winning record and then play your top teams and play in league in the ACC. So we're 10 years into this new league, and I applaud Maryland for being a big part in a lot of our sports, certainly lacrosses and soccer's, et cetera, to grow the level of our sports into the Big Ten and migrate the game west. So that's a real positive. At the same time, picking up that big time matchup for Tracy Fuchs, Northwestern, Maryland against Duke and BC, and that's the second weekend of the season. So I'm not surprised by those results. I wish we had come to the plate a little more ready. We certainly will next year. It rotates every year to a different city. So next year we'll be in Boston, we'll be at BC, and we look forward to that. We're actually signing a young player from Boston next year, which should be really exciting. And we will be a full year more connectivity with a very young team. We have two seniors that are actually four seniors, but two that really impact the play right now.
Before we get back to the show, a quick word from our sponsor. The Catalyst to the Game is brought to you by Catalyst Hot Dogs. Catalyst brought the Jersey Dog to the DMV, featuring premium, dry-aged, Black Angus all-beef hot dogs that are made in Maryland. They're served with handmade toppings, including hot onions, relish, and their signature Texas chili sauce. Guys, I actually had a Catalyst hot dog the game because I had the day off. So I was like, you know what? I'm in the CQ stands. Let's go get a Catalyst hot dog. The Texas chili sauce, elite. And don't also miss their garlic knot dogs. Catalyst always offers vegan dogs as well as gluten-free buns because Catalyst has food for everyone. You can find them in CQ Stadium in Section 14 and the Xfinity Center in Section 210. Tell the people, a hot dog is a sandwich. All right, now back to the show.
So you've been here, you talked about it, like you've been here now, I think almost on 4 decades, 38th year, I believe. That's just so much time to spend in one place. I don't think you really ever see that in college athletics anymore. It's almost an anomaly to watch and to see Maryland have 2 of them with you and Sasha. How have you kind of, just every day settled into this comfortability of being at one place and really knowing, like, was there ever a point like earlier in your career that you were like, hey, I want to be here for 20, 30, 40 years? Or has it just kind of happened day after day that you've stacked those and it's ended up this way?
Sam, that's a question I've probably answered a lot, certainly spoken to my family, dear friends, and I have one answer. I love Maryland. I love this state. I love this university. I'm blown away by where it keeps going and navigating from entrepreneurship to research to ranking. It's a global institution. And I'll be honest with you, my first 20 years, I had several opportunities to be at other institutions. And every time I went and I looked and I maybe could have done things differently financially or regionally or socially for my family. And I came home and I went, God, I even more know why I love this state. And what I love about it is the diversity, the inclusion. I love the regions. I love all of the excitement. I love the chaos. It's one big game of field hockey out there. I mean, the Beltway, you could have it be an Olympic sport, for God's sakes. But I love it. And that's my first reason. The second reason is at times when I have worked for athletic directors or development, I do enjoy speaking. I do enjoy sharing. I've got an incredible donor base. I mean, just incredible. And so do a lot of us who have been here a long time. And these are people right now who still give and care so much. Not only do they give resource-wise and financially, but they're here and they're active. And I've felt so a part of them and a part of their influence in the athletic department. And I honestly, a big piece is developing coaches here. I have athletes and I have coaches. And I look out at the tree of young women that have been able to get their degree, be in position to win championships. I'd like to win more championships. We haven't been able to win a championship since being in the Big Ten, and we certainly have every intention of being there. But it's that evolution of being player-centered. I do a lot of work with transforming. I really do. I understand the transactional state that this young group is in. I like listening to them. I enjoy being a part. I think it's healthy having 2 children that are in their young 30s and a grandson. So I'm embedded in the generations and the mindsets, and I love that. And I love people and studying that. On the flip side, I've been a place where coaches come here to learn and to go on and be head coaches. And, I love Carla Taglante at Princeton, but wow. She's now come back here and had some damage here for 4 years in a row, apparently. So she and I are great colleagues, and she's an incredible Terp and has been at Princeton now for about 10 years. But I enjoy that. And I've got young coaches now that also will have an opportunity to go on. So for me, it's just that connectivity. I love the beat. I love the pulse. I actually am probably one of the older coaches out there that actually finds NIL and rev share and all this wicked exciting. I think it's fantastic because it's what we are. It's where we are. It's where our country is. It's where the world is. It's where social media is. I'm lucky though. I have somebody else that handles me all totally on social media. So that's a I'm very grateful for her.
Missy, with all the time that you've spent at this university and all the work you've put in, you have over 600 career wins now. You've won more games than any coach in Maryland athletics history in any sport, which it's a crazy stat when you hear it. So when you hear that, what does that milestone mean to you, having the most wins out of any Maryland athletics coach ever?
I mean, it seems like a math equation, honestly. I'm the oldest. Why wouldn't I? I mean, let's be honest. But we win. Right. And we do win. And, I'd like to get back to that space where we're winning more. And the biggest thing, as I said from the beginning, when you guys asked me, like, it's recruiting and scheduling. And I love the schedule that we play. We are not fortunate this year because all of those Big Ten ACC matchups that happened early on in the first 3 weeks. Unfortunately, I believe we went 2-14. So automatically our league is behind the ACC. And that's what's kind of looking at that national ranking. And we're going to have to catch up. I mean, we've got great games in front of us, and we've got Virginia at Virginia. And that's a game that we need to shift. We need to win it. Not only that, we need to be in position for our league to get more power. So, but not overlooking Iowa, who will head out to Iowa City this Thursday.
You touched on NIL and rev share, and I wanted to ask you, because you were pretty outspoken when rev share was kind of, not hadn't been passed yet by Congress. What do you think it's done for non-revenue sports, for the Olympic sports, and how do you think it's impacting athletes, the discrepancy in what athletes are making, and just overall, how do you feel about it?
Well, remind me where I was outspoken.
You talked about how rev share, I have the clip, I can pull it up, but you talked about how rev share had kind of been, you were slightly worried about where it was going to shape for non-revenue sports.
Yeah.
And like what it would mean for the athletes in the non-football and men's basketball, and how schools were going to allocate their funds.
Sure. I think, the whole space is just so fluid, right, guys? Like there's no answer yet. I mean, when it takes 9 months to actually have something passed or even settled. So in that time period that your reference is, look, it's a space that we don't know. I can only say though that the leadership at Maryland right now is such that it's all about NIL. It is all about NIL, and we can get to rev share. I mean, there's 3 pots. You've got scholarships, you've got rosters and scholarships, and that has to do with getting your degree. You've got the rev share pot, and the rev share pot. I mean, Olympic sports is what I would define as all of us, but football and basketballs, and maybe volleyball, and I don't know how you would define exactly who is professional. Right now, we're all professional. Because if you look at those 3 pots, you've got your scholarships, you've got your rev share. You're going to have some dollars that you can use. You have to find an athlete that's really worthy of it, right? And it could be an athlete from this country, it could be an athlete from another country, and I'm very confident in our leadership team that I can walk in and say, look, if we want to get this athlete over North Carolina, over Michigan, this is what we're going to need them in terms of rev share, and that's dollars. That's just straight up dollars. It's paying to play, and that's the old 2016 pay to play. And we all paid attention to that back then that was going on for those young men's entertainment. Maybe we wouldn't be where we are, but we are where we are. So that's where that is. But the NIL is the piece that people kind of cross between NIL and rev share. NIL is where it's at. And this is where our companies, our local people, those who love us and those that don't know that they love us as much as they should. And those are to all the Terps who are out there that possibly when we left the AC or possibly really haven't been attracted yet, but they love money. And so they're interested in us, and they're interested in NIL contracts and opportunity to be the face of. Look, I recruit, 2027s. These kids are juniors, 2028s right now. And I'm already speaking to coaches that some of the universities I compete against are already talking about NIL contracts with areas that these young people love and want to work in. They're 14 years old, and this is field hockey. Now, so you ask me why am I in it? I love it. I think it's great. What are the choices? You either complain or you find it, I'm not in the mood for it anymore. But think about where we are and how quickly it happened, although some schools had a pulse way before others. And I think that's where that NIL piece really got just steamrolled in some of these places that have huge long-term family donation money, companies, local. And I think they really grabbed at it. But I love what we're doing right now. I think our development team, I think Jim Smith is doing a great job. I think coming into a new place that we have so many Terps out there that are ready to support us. And that's what excites me. Hey, I'm a member of Chartwell Country Club in Anne Arundel County, and I play a lot of golf, and I know a lot of these guys. And I've always been like, hey, I'm not going to ask a question. Do you give? What's your company? What are you doing? we're in a space I can. That's how I feel right now, and it's exciting. But back to Olympic sports, and I always try to keep it clear, especially when I'm recruiting with the families. Scholarships are scholarships. That's tuition fees, room, board, books, and cost of attendance. And then you've got some red share cash. If someone's worthy of having the cash, then we'll find a way. And I'm confident that my leadership team will support what I'm thinking and why. And then on the third side, though, which is really the most important when it comes to sustainability in recruiting and money, is the NIL relationships and contracts that Jim and his team are working on.
It's so crazy to hear that, that this is where like the state of recruiting is at. I know obviously this is the case, like you think about this for football, like players are really concerned about how much they're going to get paid. But I think for Olympic sports, you don't often think that. So how much, at least for your recruiting breakdown, when you bring a player in, is, showing them the facility, showing them Maryland, but then how much of the conversation are they still concerned about, if they're going to get paid and how much?
That's Brendan, the student at the University of Maryland is paying their own way. It's a very expensive school. So the whole kind of profile of the student at the University of Maryland is quite affluent and has a lot of resources and has a lot of choices. And, we are a very fortunate campus. Let's just put it that way. The conversations go from, but so-and-so has offered this. And so the actual value right now, as we start to get used to having rev share dollars, so to speak, or NIL opportunities, you're just going to go through a time where you're going to have to say, okay, well, we'll match it just for the sake of getting through this sort of time, or just, say, well, we just don't have that. I think what is nice about being Maryland and the tradition and the success of the program and the academic curriculums here that are just, continuing to raise, it's easy to recruit here. It's really easy. I mean, when I say easy, you're in a good space when you're constantly head to head with Duke, Carolina, Michigan, and Princeton. And I would say, we're in that, and it's constant. And that's telling you that we're in a super good place. So what we do have, and certainly what North Carolina and Michigan have, is a bit of a jump on us right now with the NIL opportunities. But I think with the pace that we're moving, it's going to be quickly. But the recruits and their parents, they want it, right? They want it. They want to be a part. They want to be to go on social media afterwards and say, look at what I got. They want to have, Pepsi next to them. They want this. So you got to just be open-minded and sit in their world for a bit and enjoy it with them.
Missy, I'll just kind of put it, we've talked a lot about how long you've been here and just the joy that you still have for coaching. It kind of shows up, but I guess I just want to know, how long are you still planning on coaching, if you had to give a timeline?
My gosh, are you a recruit? I can't tell you how many times I've weathered
I'm
this.
asking you about money, how long you're going to coach, what's going on?
Sam, what's going on? You wear a kilt? Just kidding. Let's see. I'm going to know if I don't love it. I come from an Italian family, and I'm pretty clear on what feels good and what doesn't. And right now, I'm interested in all the topic we're talking about, and I still really love coaching the girls. In terms of time, I have a contract through December of 2028, and I aligned that with the next quadrennium of the Olympics through LA. I'm fortunate we've got some athletes that might have a space in that. It's always a nice kind of timeline. I operate in quadrenniums. I was fortunate enough to coach and be a part of the whole Olympic movement through a couple of terms. I want to follow this class through. This freshman class, I'm looking at the board right now. There's 11, right? So, and there's 6 that are predominantly, there's 4 opening matches. They're exciting. I did a big time with my staff recruiting. I've got a new staff. So this is a group that I could see myself wanting to follow through with. At the same time, on any given hour, if there's something else that I feel I want to be doing, I'm very open to doing that. So I find myself when I say this, because I've got club coaches and you've got people that say, oh, we're hearing you're leaving and X is getting the job like next week, because that's what's going on in recruiting. And I have to say, I can't say this class of 2027, there aren't a few girls and the club coaches and the parents that were very concerned about whether or not there would be a coaching change during their athletes' time. What I find so funny is this is a women's thing and a women's sports thing. Because I don't really find that men or males really have these type of conversations. I mean, yes, there could be a coaching change, but in men's sports, turnovers happen like that, and somebody gets bought and somebody goes there, and you could have a change. Maybe you'll like the new one even better, right? So, but it seems a little more, oh gosh, what if? Hey, I'm here till 2028. I love it. Still completely inspired every day. And I think you can see from where you guys are looking here and this Zoom, my wall, this facility, it's
You
it's
go.
a castle here.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Missy, we appreciate you. Hopefully, we see you on NBC making your color commentary return. I was checking out some old clips ahead of this interview. You were rocking it.
Oh, fellas. Wow. Yeah, I was rocking it, but I want to remind you, I was not on site in London. So I was working remotely from New York City.
Oh, okay.
And little did I know I would not have somebody full-time on site to work with me, like in my booth. I basically made a lot up. I'm just going to be straight up. And people just told me how great I was. I said, well, thank you very much. Fellas,
Hey,
thanks so much. And you have a great day. Under the shell,
yeah, thank
get
you,
out of
Missy.
the shell.
Appreciate
Let's
your
get out
time.
there. Fellas, have a great day.